On the programme this week, I put two big executive cars through some tough tests. That's the BMW 540 and the Jaguar XJ8. Will they measure up? Whilst Ken Gibson enjoys all 180 brake horsepower available in the Seat Ibiza Sport. And later on, I'll take a look at the newly revised Saxo VTR. Is it still as hot as it was? Two big cars, over 85 grand's worth in total. Between them, they can burn enough fuel in a day to power the tanker ship that delivered it. And best of all, in 3 years' time, you'd be hard-pressed to get more than 49 grand for the pair. But that's just the bad news. On the plus side, they're both gorgeous in their own way. They're both extremely comfortable, capable and competent. And they're both right at the top of the executive car tree, both destined for the director slots in the car park. So we decided that such special cars need a special test, and we brought them here to our test ground to do just that. Our first test might be basic, but it's one of the most important, because an executive car can fail miserably before it's even turned a wheel if it can't accommodate the corporate buns. First up, it's the BMW. This is our businessman with, of course, the corporate buns. Let's see how comfortably he and his buns can fit in the front seat. It's out of the front and into the back to discover where there's enough room to stretch out. And after the BMW's performance, let's see how the Jag fares. This being Jaguar's long wheelbase version of the car, there is plenty of room. The lower driving position does require a more careful manoeuvre to climb in. Once in though, there's plenty of electric adjustment to sort it all out, sometimes a bit too much. And there's room in the back, if you like a large lunch, then to spread out and read your broadsheet on the move. So at the end of that, it is close, but the Jaguar edges ahead just. As for the extra money, you can specify the long wheelbase version. Now, throughout these tests, we're going to be awarding each car various seemingly random collections of points. Then at the end, we'll add them all up and subtract them and divide them, and well, we don't really understand how the whole point system works. So basically, I'll decide which one's my favourite and declare that to be the best car. So that's 12.5 points to the BMW and 127 to the Jaguar. Now, every business traveller knows there's nothing more irritating than cruising down the outside lane of the motorway and get stuck behind some family Uber in their family-type car. Any executive chariot should be able to dispatch such a car to a lesser lane with nothing more than a mere flash of the lights or a honk of the horn. Enter MotorWeek's very own Putting Mortals in Their Place test. This test is simple. Our family car, driven by our volunteer here, cruises at a steady 43 miles an hour. That typical of fast lane, slow traffic. Our businessman must accelerate to within a foot or so of our volunteer's rear bumper and flash the headlights. If she still refuses to move into the slow lane, the horn may then be used and even gesticulations added as well. Each car will be awarded on the least amount of time it takes to get the car in front out of the way. First up, it's the Jaguar Sovereign. And it's a very good start. Those four imposing headlamps certainly do have an effect. That grille adds a bit of aggression too. Excellent use of the horn, by our businessman, and eventually it does work. We get the desired effect and we can waft past on our way. And now the BMW, that Bavarian approach. Again, we have four headlamps here, which does give it that more aggressive stance. And again, quite an imposing grille. So it looks good behind you. She's looking worried in front. Good use of the horn and headlights. Nice combination, nice coordination. That's it. She's given up. She's had enough. The BMW has got through. And so to the points. That's 4 headlamps to the Jaguar and 6 points to the BMW. Something like that. Millions of hours of development have gone into these cars. Despite their size, they are both of them agile, manoeuvrable and dynamically excellent. But that's not all you need to win through in the Motor Week Corporate Slalom course. It's all about grit, determination and, dare I say it, good old-fashioned spunk. Each car will have to complete our grueling slalom set up especially to test the dynamics of these businessman chariots. The Jaguar lines up, hunched and ready. It's lift-off, and yes, it's a more sedate approach, direct. These are the kind of skills that get you to the top of the business tree in order to get yourself into a car like this in the first place. Excellent, confident performance. The BMW now taking a far more flamboyant approach, not necessarily more effective, but it does look very good. Again, we are back to an awful lot of management technique.
What? Yes, it's all right. Bloody cones everywhere. Why?
And so that's a big bag of points to the Jag and possibly another big bag, maybe even more to the BMW, just for flamboyance. Both of these cars come in at over £40,000 and they're heavy depreciators over 3 years. Now that might not mean much to your average company car driving executive, but put it in terms of stocks and shares and I'm sure they'll see the point. The long wheelbase Jaguar Sovereign costs just over £45,000. After 3 years you can expect it to be worth around £21,000. That's with just 36,000 miles on the clock and in average condition. Look at it this way, your shares are worth under half of what they were 3 years ago. 4 out of 10. The BMW fares slightly better, coming in at just under £40,000. After the same 3 years and with the same miles, you can expect your investment to have lost just over a quarter and come in at a more respectable £28,000. 7 out of 10. In all fairness though, these cars aren't bought by people looking to make an investment. They're bought by companies making a statement. It's time then to tot up the scores, and in second place, the Bavarian Barnstormer loses out with a score of, loads. And our winner this week is the Jaguar XJ8 4-litre Sovereign long wheelbase, our favourite chariot for the budding corporate giant, with a score of, loads of points and then just a few more. This week's test may have been mostly for fun. Almost entirely, in fact, but both of these cars can excel at the top of a very competitive class. In fact, the only downside is the huge running costs and the depreciation. But as we've said, they're not bought and paid for by individuals, so who cares? If it were my money, well, it would go on the Jaguar, mostly because I think it's got more of a sense of humour than the BMW, which somehow, though nearly perfect, seems to take life just a little too seriously.
This is the Seat Ibiza Cupra R, a little pocket rocket that simply screams, drive me very fast at you. Discreet, the Ibiza is not. In this impossible to ignore yellow, it looks like a boy racer's dream. But is it a boy racer's dream to drive? Let's find out. Driving the Cupra is a bit like driving a cross between a rally car and a go-kart, which actually is hardly surprising as the Cupra was developed by Seat's successful rally division. Seat have got big plans to become the Spanish equivalent of Alfa Romeo, and that's a tall order. But they've underlined their intent by poaching Alfa's legendary design boss, Walter de Silva, to make Seats look the part. And you have to say he's done the business with the Ibiza. It's very sporty, but in a subtle type of way. Colour apart, that is. Inside the Ibiza, it's a clever little mix of the standard cabin, which is a pretty smart affair anyway, with lots of nice little sporty touches, starting with the very, very sporty steering wheel. I like it. It's got good grip, it's perfectly placed. Crucial ingredient for a fast little hot hatch. Love the gear lever, chrome topped, matches the colour coordination with the drilled metal pedals. Add in some nice little chrome touches around it and white back dials, and you have all the ingredients for a hot hatch. Oh, I nearly forgot the most important element, the engine. And what a cracker. It's a 1.8, 20 valve, turbocharged, 180 brake horsepower number. For the facts and figures brigade, it does 0 to 62 in the impressive time of 7.1 seconds, and all the way up to 140 miles an hour if you really want to lose your license. So, we're getting all the ingredients. We've got an engine that does the business, but what about the all-important factor with a hot hatch, handling? Well, handling is lively to say the least. This little baby reacts to any slight change in the road surface, any bump, any gradient. You get a strong feeling it's a case of concentrate, Gibson, concentrate. And it is important to concentrate. I like the seats as well. They're very supportive, half leather sport seats, which suit the rest of the image of the car. The other thing is you'll definitely not forget that you're actually in a Cupra, because all over the rather almost sober grey is the word Cupra written about 95 times. That's just in case you've got a forgetful memory. It's all quality materials inside the Ibiza, and that's hardly surprising because of course they're all Volkswagen parts. That means the Ibiza is also very reliable and safe, but hey, let's face it, you won't be buying the Ibiza Cupra for reliability. So, how does the Cupra rate on the hot curry Richter scale? Well, it won't burn your tongue, but I would say it would leave a very, very warm and pleasant glow inside. It's pretty warm. But the best thing of all is its price. $13,995 buys you an awful lot of hot hatch. Especially when you compare it with rivals like the Renault Clio 2-litre S. £2,000 more, very similar performance, and the most important thing of all, Seat are only going to make 200 of these Cupras, which will mean you'll not only be very hot, but very exclusive.
Coming up after the break, the revised Citroen Saxo VTR. Have they cooled down one of the hottest of hot hatches? The hot hatch market is, like the climate in this great nation of ours, a fickle thing. 1 minute you're the fashionable item, the thing for fashionable young hooligans around town to be seen punting around. The next, you're out of date, garbage, fit only transport for grandmas and the terminally ungroovy. But does it have to be like that? Just because something's 30 seconds out of date, does it no longer have any use? Well, take for instance the Citroen Saxo. It's been around for a few years now. They freshened it up at the end of last year and they've just made some more changes to this, the VTR. You'll save a packet compared to buying the latest fashion bauble. So is it worth it? Well, let's look at those changes first of all before we drive it, the visual changes, and they are. New headlamps with integrated indicators. I preferred the old ones. The bonnet and wings are more rounded. We have a new grille, and it gained all new tail lights. Those then were the tweaks and changes when they facelifted it at the end of last year. But now they've made some more changes to one of the top-selling versions, this, the VTR. And they have made it a two-tone. Oh yes, one tone, two-tone. Yes, it is another tone, it's not just mud. And they've made some changes as well under the bonnet. You must remember that the Saxo is a super mini, but it's a very mini super mini, even by this class's standards. It is a pokey motor. If you are big, there won't be room.
Could it be my imagination? Perhaps I'm looking back with rose-tinted spectacles at the first Saxo, but somehow it doesn't feel as fast, even with its extra 8-brake horsepower.
In fact, there is a theory that perhaps they had to strangle the engine a little more to meet new European emissions regulations, and perhaps the 8 bhp is just by way of compensation. But that's just mean and cynical.
This is in fact the UK's #1 selling hot hatch. But can it be entirely coincidence that at under £10,000, including all manner of free servicing, free insurance and interest-free credit type offers, it's also the UK's cheapest?
And it's never going to be exactly an Audi standard finish in here. It's very plasticky, and the plastic used isn't particularly nice either. Mind you, when they facelifted it, they gave it some nice white dials. Ooh, spotty. Do you know, it feels like only days ago I was hooning around in the brand new Saxo VTS and VTR, feeling as funky as a chicken in a zoot suit. Now though, it's starting to date, but a bit like last year's Combats. If you don't mind being slightly out of fashion, it's one heck of a bargain. Very practical. With running a car getting more and more expensive, you might want to look at ways to save yourself a bit of money. Buy a smaller car that has a smaller engine, is more fuel efficient, and with reduced taxes on offer from the government for cars that pollute less, it could be something on the used car market that you're after. Perhaps like this. The baby Peugeot, the 106. Now this is one of the early examples from the range, first introduced in 1991, so you'll find those early examples on something like a J plate, and they run through until 1996, when the 106 underwent a fairly major facelift to make it a much smarter and more refined small car. However, these early 106s are good cars, cheap to buy and insure. We're talking Insurance Group 3 for this 106 XM, and because of that they make either ideal city cars for nipping around town or as a first car for a teenager. That is, as long as you're not over 6 foot tall, because the interior is a little on the tight side, not too much headroom there and pretty cramped for rear seat passengers as well. Equipment level on these base 106s is also pretty limited, to be honest, so look out for one of the many special edition models like this for those nice little extras like, well, a sunroof. On the road, like most Peugeots, the 106s are also good to drive. The steering is sharp and precise, the brakes are good, and they're just such easy cars to manoeuvre. Now, a 1 litre engine producing only 45 brake horsepower doesn't sound a lot, and it isn't. So these cars do tend to struggle when they're laden with extra luggage or even extra passengers. So you might want to look at one of the many other engine options available in the 106 range. So what sort of money should you pay for a 106? Well, something like this on a K-Reg with 68,000 miles on the clock would set you back about £2,000. An M-Reg 1.3 Rally with 60,000 miles, about £3,500. And a top-of-the-range 1.6 XSI on an N-plate starts to look a bit expensive at about £5,000. If you fancy a diesel, well, go for something like, say, an N-plate 1.5 graduate diesel, which would set you back again about £3,500. Now, the key to these Peugeots is small car at a smallish price. Most 106s are in the price range of about £1,500 through to £4,000. And there have been no major problems since the car was first introduced, if you can live with these rather silly little door handles. This is my used car tip this week, the Peugeot 106.
You know, car manufacturers are just like kids. If there's a new toy out, then they all want to have one.
And Daewoo don't want to be left out. It is, of course, a mini MPV, and it's called the Takuma.
Pininfarina and Ital design have added a touch of Italian flair to the styling, and Porsche have been brought in to work on the handling.
And with that in mind, the Takuma comes with two very sensible engine options. A brand new 1.8 entry-level engine, and this, the 2-litre CDX, which you can also find in the Nubira and the Laganza. Now, it doesn't exactly pack a punch, I've got to say. It produces just 119 brake horsepower, has a top speed of 112 miles per hour, and 0 to 60, well, it just seems to take absolutely ages. Next up is practicality, and here the Takuma scores top marks. You get plenty of room for all 5 passengers, and there's a very flexible interior.
And you can't complain about the price. The 1.8 costs £12,495 on the road, and this 2-litre CDX is £13,495. And for that you get good levels of equipment, plus Daewoo's warranty and free servicing package, and the option of a free advanced driver training course to help you live up to the challenge of driving a Daewoo. Now, the only point left to consider is, will the Takuma make the other mums green with envy? Well, I'm afraid that distinctive grille on the front gives the game away that it's a Daewoo, and you can name drop Porsche and Pininfarina all you want, but it doesn't have their badges on the back. So no, you're not going to get next door's kids spurning their mum's Mercedes for your Daewoo. So you'll just have to congratulate yourself on your sensible buy and treat yourself to a nice holiday with all the money you've saved.
On the programme next week, Glenda enjoys the huge glamour of the Mercedes CL600.